Hey there, this is your spiritual alignment coach and mentor, Courtney Browning. Welcome to another episode of Unhindered Woman. Are you ready for some hashtag real talk that will inspire and serve you, my high-achieving Christian sister? A conversation that will deepen and personalize your relationship with God by revising the routine scripts you've been taught about Christianity. This is not to be a replacement for professional counseling and or legal advice. Hey sis, grab your hot beverage of choice along with your journal and pen and let's get into it. Now we have a journey ahead of us. All of that to say, I was trying to figure out what it is that I would love to share with you and, just start this year out with honoring what I had said in my last episode of being obedient to show up in the way that God is asking me to show up. And so here I am. There are a couple of things that are on my heart, and the one that just rose up that I'm just going to flow with right now is about allowing yourself to feel the feelings and not run from them, allowing yourself to be in that place of tension where you just don't know if you really want to feel the feelings or go there, so to speak. And I had a wonderful opportunity to hold space for a very dear friend of mine. And in the midst of that, I shared with her that it is healthy and it is right and it is good to allow yourself to feel. And as soon as I said that, it wasn't that she didn't want to feel. She just didn't know, what did that mean, practically speaking? And I actually thanked her for saying that. I said, because you are about to give me context for exactly how would I share that with anyone? How would I share with someone that you are to hold space for yourself to feel the feelings? Especially if we're just honest, the majority of us in the world have had some form of trauma, especially the longer you live. There is more than likely at least one episode in your life where it has hit you hard and to a place where you feel like the wind has been taken out of you and, oh my gosh, what do you do with that? Unfortunately for me, that has been most of my life. And of course, my grandson passing and this last episode with my husband and his health being pretty, what's the word I want to use, while keeping within boundaries that he would prefer me to have. Let's just say it was a scary road. And in the midst of that, what I had to realize, much like my friend, was sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's appropriate or the right time, or you just don't want to allow yourself to process and feel the feelings. And so with my friend, I had said to her, what you are to do when you allow yourself to feel is, number one, make sure that who you are with and where you are feels safe. More than anything, for you to be able to really process something, for me to be able to really process something, I first and foremost have to have some form of trust with the person that is in front of me. And sometimes it is just God. And yes, I trust him. If I'm honest, which I will be, there are times where I don't necessarily from the onset trust God. And yet at some point, I am always going to go back to God. And I don't think he's put off by that. I don't think he's upset with me about that. I think he knew what he was getting when he got me. And so sometimes it will take a person before I come to him. However, know this, I will come to him. And so with my friend, knowing on her end that she could trust me. And the setting was a setting that she was very much, it's a second home for her. And so the setting was great. and the person was great. And so therefore looking at her and saying, tell me how you feel. And when you are allowing yourself to process and get through a thing, and allow yourself to sit in the tension of what is going on, really what you're doing is giving words to feelings. And so you are engaging your whole body, your whole self, I should say, your mind, your emotions, and your will. And that is basically, how are you acting out those emotions? And then obviously your body is affected. And maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't, maybe this will be your first time hearing this. Your body, my friend, it keeps score. And so the quicker we put ourselves in that state or that posture of going ahead and allowing ourselves to process it and feel the feelings, think the thoughts, verbalize them, get them out, the quicker we are able to be positioned and postured to step into whatever it is that we need to step into, to do whatever it is that we need to do. And we make it so that that whole entire process and the capability of it taking us under is eliminated. And that's not easy. I have to tell you that for me, that's been about a year and a half, just over a year and a half of a journey of not letting things go for too long without going ahead and allowing myself to feel it. So in that moment with my friend, she's feeling safe. She's starting to share the thoughts and the emotions that are coming with them. And let's just say that at the end of that, she felt so much better. And more importantly, she felt empowered. That's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to speak into when it comes to those of us who have experienced trauma. For me, unfortunately, I've experienced it throughout my life. Obviously, my grandson and my husband these last 3 months really have positioned me in such a way that I have had to feel everything. And what I have done is given myself permission to have spaces and places where I allow myself to really go there. And so what are those? Well, first and foremost, I'll be real with you. For a little bit, God, even with my grandson and with what has recently happened with my husband, I wasn't quick to run to God. Ooh. And yet I was. What do I mean by that? When I get up, I'm thinking God. While I'm in the midst of it, I'm thinking God. And I'm thinking questions. And I'm looking to Him. And I'm saying, Lord, I'm hurting. Lord, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. And so it's not that I'm not turning to God per se, but it wasn't necessarily a moment where right away it's just God with the word in worship or anything like that. It was just more so, Lord, I have questions. Can I tell you something? God's not put off by your questions. It never has been, never will be. He actually loves them because that is where we get wisdom. And, the word says in all of your getting, get an understanding. Well, you first need His wisdom. And then when He gives you how to implement that wisdom, that's the understanding. So in order for us to get wisdom, we have to have a question that leads us to a place of wanting to find wisdom. Can I get an amen? Okay, so here's the thing. What are the ways in which I have given myself permission to process, to sit in the tension, to not run? Well, one has been being with a therapist, a Christian therapist. And, it's imperative that your therapist is one that you feel safe with, that you feel that you can trust. Because if you can't, then you will stay locked in and closed down and whatnot. And so thankfully, God has aligned me with an awesome therapist in the midst of the grief in this chapter of life. And so Just being able to feel safe made it so that I could go to places and ask questions that in the past I would never have had the courage to ask. And yet I knew it was safe to ask. And I was okay with her not necessarily being able to have the answers because they're God sized questions that only God can answer. And in the midst of that, feeling the feelings, and so much so that I could feel it in my body and I wasn't running from it. And you know what? Let me speak into running from it. When we run, there's a couple of things that I know I personally do. And one of them is I will deflect, right? I will take the focus off of me. Another one is another way of deflecting is changing the entire topic so that it does not get to a place where I have to go and dig deep and allow something to be uncovered. Another way is to completely shut down, not have any words. And it's not that those things are bad. It's just that when they get to a place where we just stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, and we never uncover and we never allow the discovery, it can be dangerous. So allowing myself to go there and to sit in it, it was so refreshing to realize in the midst of all of this that I didn't do that anymore. That isn't necessarily always a default. Is actually more often that it's not a default than it is. And that's huge for me, especially within the last couple of years. Another way in which I give myself a safe space is journaling. Journaling has saved my life. Being able to really get out on paper and with pen has really made it so that I can really go into some very deep thoughts and some very intimate thoughts. And I've gotten over this thought of, well, what if somebody reads it or anything like that? If you know me, you'll know that it's not very easy to embarrass me because I am fully aware of Courtney. And so there's really not much for me to be embarrassed about, especially when you know where I've come from and how I've navigated through life. If there is someone to be embarrassed, it should be me, because there's a lot of things that that I have was not taught, did not know how to do, and yet because I understood that the best way for me to overcome not knowing things or being at a disadvantage, I understood that the only way through is to uncover it and share it and talk about it and say, I don't know. And so therefore, embarrassment, it's very rare that I am embarrassed with anything. That being said, so journaling has been a lifesaver for me. It has made it so that I can really say some things to God. For example, with my grandson, saying, Lord, did I miss it? Which is a whole nother episode that I was also thinking about, and maybe we'll get into it. We'll see. I want to keep this within 20 minutes, so we'll see, because we're close to 15 already. So sometimes when life hits so hard, you do have that question, and then how about, Lord, this isn't supposed to be, how did this happen? And how is this, did my prayer get answered, of him receiving Christ so that I can see him again in heaven? I did get my answers in that, and they have given me great peace. What is another way that I have been before God? Man, I don't know how, I'll just say this. Praying in the Spirit has been what has lifted me up out of what could be a very dark pit. And so, being in a place where I feel safe to pray in tongues, because, that's it, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it right there. So praying in the Spirit, and sometimes you just don't know what to pray, or can I be real? You just don't feel like praying, and so praying in the Spirit helps. In this particular chapter of life, I'll be honest with you, it has been very difficult to want to push and do it on my own. And so a very dear friend of mine shared a video with me that has been more of a guide for me, which basically is, they're praying in the Spirit, and then they're speaking the word. Come on. You can't get any better than that. And so as they are speaking the word, it is causing me to meditate on the word and speak out the word myself, and then pray in the Spirit. I'll be honest with you, that has been my life raft right now in this chapter. And so all of that to say this. I'm sure that if you haven't already, maybe you are now, and if not, in the future, a question is going to arise. Lord, what did I do? Did I do anything to deserve this? Did I open a door? Is there something I need to know about this? I can be honest with you and say that has been my question with both episodes that have taken place in the last few months. And in the last week, I had a sweet woman from across the pond, I'm in the States, message me, a woman I've never met, and she shared how she had been listening to my podcast and wondered why there weren't any more episodes at the time. And then she had heard my most recent episode and was so thankful that that I've stepped back into this. And she doesn't know until now. That was such a sweet kiss from God for me. Right behind that, I was out playing pickleball, and those of you that have been listening to my podcast, you know I really enjoy pickleball, and again, that too is another way of me having a way of going there with my emotions. Sometimes you just need to get the physical activated within your body to be able to push out some of the stress and pressure that's in your body. And so pickleball has done that for me. Thank you, Lord, for that. And so standing with a dear friend and just really in that moment, again, she was a safe person. The setting was safe. And so I felt safe to allow myself to feel the feelings of the fear of potentially the idea of losing my husband. And so in the midst of that, just looking at her, and she said, Courtney, you're doing everything right for the enemy to come at you like this. And I just looked at her and said, wow, I've really been questioning that. How do I even end here? Listen, when life hits hard and crisis hits, I think our number one temptation is to question if we're hearing God. Is he listening? Those two questions, they ebb and flow in the severity and the impact on how we go about our next step, our next chapter. We could choose to just not seek God We could choose to seek God, and we can choose to be indifferent. At the end of the day, if you heard those 3 things I just said to you, they are all choices. And at this point in life, in our walk with God, and just in walking out life, a choice is a choice. And we all know that with choices come consequences. And I am choosing to allow myself to sit in the tension and the discomfort of the feelings and process them by giving voice to the thoughts that are coming with those emotions, and in a setting where what I need validated is validated, and what I need clarity on, because maybe my perspective is skewed, I am getting clarity on, so that on the other side I can get up and be empowered to step into whatever it is that God has for me. That, my friend, is what we need. That is how we can see ourselves step into whatever it is that God has for us. And so with that, I'm going to ask you 2 things. 1, whatever it is that you're going through and you have determined and decided that you are not going to allow yourself to feel it or sit in the tension of it, may I ask you to reconsider that. I don't know about you, but I'm just going to tell you, for me, my body has paid a high price for that. My emotional state paid a high price for that. My mental state paid a high price for that. And I'm no longer willing to pay those prices. And so to feel the tension, to sit in the tension, to feel those feelings and to get through them is so much more worth it than the long-term effect of if I don't. That's 1. 2, whatever your questions are for God, put them out there. He's a big God. Pretty sure he can handle them better than any other human being can. And he has a way of giving you answers that bring about great peace. And isn't that what we need? Peace. I'd say yes. With that, I'll say see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of Unhindered Woman. My hope is that you feel seen, known, and loved by God. This podcast is here to serve and inspire you to explore more on how to work with me, to find out what I'm up to and where you can find me on social media. Click on the links shared in the description of this podcast. I'd love and appreciate it if you give me a quick review in this app that you're listening in through. Don't forget, subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Talk with you soon, friend.